Thank you for the Pepsi. Good to see everybody. Thanks for coming here today. I was just thinking about this coming up. The one thing that's consistent is that no season starts with the same dynamics. That's for sure. I think that for everybody, it'll be fun and good to get started with football. I know that I really like this team, and I really appreciate more and more as we go forward. The team, the staff, the administration, the university, the state. There's lots of dynamics here and lots of stuff going on, and there's just been nothing but great support, and with that, an excitement about this upcoming year. So, we have, I think, had a good off season. We started. As we said going in, it was a big bowl game for us. We were really fortunate to get into a bowl game. We were very thankful for it. We I suppose, got in through the back door, but we weren't ashamed of that. We just took it and ran with it. And I'm really proud of our team and coaching staff because I think it was really important to win and to play good. Good for that team, and a good kickoff into the off season. I think this team has had a kind of what I look at like a hungry theme during this whole off season, from the workouts to spring practice to heading into the summer with what they've been doing. So there's some, I think some anxiousness and excitement for them about getting started. I think this team has lots of leadership throughout it, and not necessarily guys having to give speeches, but just good solid people that do the right thing, that have been in the program, that are good examples for everybody. We haven't been through some of the normal things that you have to deal with, whether it's behavior or academics or some of the stuff that hasn't gone perfectly. But overall, in general, this team has responded well, and it's been really fun to be with them in the off season, and it's actually comforting to be entering into a second season. One of the most important parts of that, as I look at it, is the comfort of knowing players better. The utilization of talent and getting hopefully a better idea of how to use them. To enhance their abilities. I think that's actually really fun to talk about in coaching, and it goes throughout. I know everybody immediately transfers that thought to the quarterback, which is a big thought in that. But it's also, our corners, how they play, what are they good at, what could they lend to us a little bit differently than we've done, So the exploration of how we do all that is an exciting part of coaching. And then looking at our team in general and trying to find and push those guys that are on that brink of being able to contribute, push them into that deal where we've got more guys engaged in playing in the games. Now, I think that always can be, as guys enter in to that, into that group that plays, I think it really strengthens your overall group. And then we also have an added excitement of bringing in, a good freshman class, and then finding out early which guys in that freshman class are going to play. I'm not going to tell you their names because I'm not going to put that out there on them at this time. But we named off, like, after looking at our team and looking at some of these guys in the off-season program, and then who they are, what they do, putting all those thoughts together, we came up with 5 or 6 names that we want to push into this thing and see how they do in the first 2 weeks. I think I told you a year ago that what we normally do is look at this hard for a couple weeks before we decide about the whole red shirt factor. And when we do that, then we'll pick those guys and get them going. But in order to do that, we've got to have them in a little bit of the stuff right up front, especially on special teams. So, the other thought about that is if a guy can start on a couple special teams and can be a factor in playing in the games, then we'll consider not redshirting them. That's a big issue. I'm not gonna get into that deal where we're not sure and the guy's gonna play a couple plays a game, and we're not gonna do that. But we do have viable people at specific spots that we've got to look at to strengthen ourselves that we're going to push early. So that will be a big factor. Okay, I think from there, that's my opening statement, and we'll just open it up to questions.
Just with the aftermath of Sam's death, I guess, what do you expect the state of the mind of the team will be as you guys start practice?
Well, I think that in general, with that question about Sam and how they will react, I think from what, we've talked to a lot of people and good people right here in this building that have a lot of advice about how people might continue to react. And I think, I can't give a general answer to that because I don't think it is a general answer. I think it will affect different people, from staff members to players, differently. And a lot of it might just simply depend on how well they knew Sam. Some of our freshmen didn't know him very well. So how they react, I think, will be across the board. I think that we have to respect that, understand that, know that, recognize that, my if you want to hear my personal advice on it, I think that, what I think about Sam Foltz and the football part of it and what he brought to this team in university, if I could be as happy doing my job and enthusiastic as Sam was, as you guys saw him be, he loved it. He was proud of his craft. He worked at it like a pro, and he did it with a lot of fun, a lot of joy. He brought a joy to practice every day, and he's been around here long enough that he impacted virtually every guy that way. Sometimes there is that isolation and that, I've said it before, that kind of loneliness of the long distance runner when you're a specialist. But this guy was every guy's guy here, and he was all over. He in the weight room, in the running, the conditioning. He could actually do it with most any of them, and so he was that person. And so my personal advice to myself is, do it like he did it, enjoy it like he did, and I don't want to either sound dramatic about that nor disrespect it in any way, because I think that the reactions and how people will use it or take it or handle it are all different. That's just, for me, something that I loved about him, and would love for every person to feel like he did about his deal. We did, I don't know if I've told you guys this in general, maybe parts of you, but we did a foxhole survey, basically based on trust within the team. And, it was just questions all across the board. A couple of them that I've mentioned before. One of them had to do with if there was a lady that had a flat tire on the side of the road, which guy on our team is most likely to stop and help that lady. And another one was there's a party on Friday night. You can't go, but your girlfriend wants to go. Who would you trust to take your girlfriend to the party? That's a tough one. But Sam was, you guys know this, Sam was all over the place. He was like at the top of everybody's list in that foxhole deal. Quite an impact for a guy that was a specialist, but like I said, he was really way more than just a position player. He was really heart and soul guy on this team.
Coach, do you have anything special planned in terms of uniform patch or any tribute you're going to do during the first game, anything like that?
Yes, absolutely, and lots of thoughts, and really lots of neat thoughts from people across the state, across the country, in ways to do that. We have picked out some things that we're going to do initially for sure, and you're going to hear about them in a release pretty soon. We'll do the kind of the obvious. We're going to save his locker in honor of him all year, and we're going to have a sticker on the helmet. But there'll be other stuff that is equally impacting and important. Just some things that I know all of us would like to do. Tom?
I know it's hard to say, but Sam would have been a captain.
Would Sam have been a captain? I would say that that he would. The voting for captain's hard, and not often. I have to. Through the years, I've done this long enough to know how that goes, and when asking players to vote for a captain. So I've had to, through the past, always remind them, remember to include and think about the specialists, because what enters into their mind often is, a lot of times it's a talented guy. It's going to be that guy that everybody knows is a great player, and they respect the talent, respect what they've done for the team. I don't think I would have had to do that concerning Sam, and I think he could very likely have been a captain.
Mike, talk a little bit about the punting duties. Who's going to handle this now? How do you see it?
Yeah, I've kind of waited until this time to talk about the football aspect of what this all means, and obviously it's impactful, right? He wasn't just good; he was great, and so. What we'll do is we've got Caleb Lightborn, who we just recruited and signed and anticipated redshirting, but with Caleb and Isaac Armstrong, who's with us, we're gonna start it off with a competition, and we would like to make a decision pretty soon about who that is, but we want to kind of open it up right at the start. We've got a talented young freshman. We've got a guy that's had some experience with this team. We want to let them compete and coach them for a few days or a certain amount of time. But we'd like to do it pretty soon because one of them's left-footed, one of them's right-footed. If it's a right-footed punter, then the shield has to play this way, the shield that protects the punter. If it's left-footed, it's the other. So we'd like to get to the point where we got a starting group practicing with the starting punter. And we're going to let that play out for a time that, I can't tell you a specific date because I don't know it, but we don't want it to be too long. We'd like to make a pretty decision pretty soon.
What do you do at the holder spot?
Yeah, that's another major factor. Sam was a good holder and a guy that Drew was confident in. And so what we'll do, the number one thing about the holder is we will find the guy that Drew ends up being the most comfortable with. And in doing that, a lot of times it's been a punter. It could be Isaac Armstrong, the punter. I have enlisted Zach Darlington, who I think would be a great candidate to possibly be one of the candidates there. And then, of course, Caleb Lightborn has done it. If Caleb ends up being our punter and he's a true freshman, I don't know how many duties we want to pile on top of him, right? But those are the possibilities. We're gonna. Again, we'd like to be able to make a decision pretty soon on who that is, and then let them have a good camp of repetition.
You said your team is hungry. What is it hungry to do?
I think win, and the winning, whatever that means, winning the games, winning championships. I think they've invested a lot, and my hope is, and it's an educated hope, is that they have. The last part of the season with a couple of really good wins in there kind of made them confident on what we can do and also anxious to prove we can do that consistently, which we did not last year. But I think with the veteran leadership we have coming back, with the fact that I think there was some confidence coming out of that and an excitement about what might yet be, I think it's kind of allowed me to say I think this is a hungry team.
What kind of emphasis have you guys had on finishing games?
Well, I think that the emphasis there, Sam, lies in some of the things that we just have to do better. And one of those for sure is, we want to get big plays offensively, and we were, if you look at the numbers and what you you expect you'll need to win games. We did okay offensively, big plays, but we were bad defensively. We gave up way too many big plays. And oftentimes, some of those times were right at the very first game was a big play at the end of the game. I think being sounder, being able to prevent long passes, long runs, I think maybe the two main factors in winning and losing games are turnovers and big plays, explosive plays. And it goes both ways, not turning the ball over offensively, getting explosive plays, defensively getting some turnovers and not giving up big plays. I think those are main factors there. And then to give yourself a chance to continue to make plays, just eliminate those penalties that have to do with procedure, offsides, false starts, stuff like that. Those are three main emphasis going in that will impact final outcomes.
You were optimistic about some guys on D-line at the end of the spring.
Yeah.
On the eve of fall camp, how do you feel about that position group and where they have to go over the next 3 years?
Brian, I think we'll need continued growth and probably even growth. When you're going to play two redshirt freshmen like the Davis twins, we expect growth during camp. We expect it in the season as they go. They've got the greatest chance for upside as the season goes on because of just learning to play in the Big Ten Conference and playing major college football. I think that with their ability, I think with their work ethic, and gaining experience about the games, what that really means to play in the games. I think they got a chance to grow. Kevin Maurice needs to be as good a player as he is consistently. I think that he's got to be that guy that we can really rely on. We're really excited and hopeful about Mick Stoltenberg being healthy. All those things I feel the same way about. I really like that group. And people like Logan Rath, Peyton Newell that have kind of through opportunity and getting more chance, kind of slid into that point. Well, let's go. Let's see. How many plays? Can I be that guy that earns 15 to 20 plays in a game? And so you rotate guys in, you keep them fresher, and then it just helps those people like Mick and like Kevin that could be the starters in there, or one of the Davises, or both the Davises, however that works out. I think with that, I just mentioned 6 names, all viable. So I'm looking forward to the we'll need more growth. We'll need that right in camp, and we'll need it right into the season, and they'll need to play hard and smart. And so that's our big chore really as we go through fall camp.
Hey, you mentioned the health of Mick. What is the health of your team? Anybody off 1
Yeah.
to 5 or delayed from starting practice here in August?
Yeah, Jack Stoll, a freshman tight end from Colorado. He is continuing to have a healing process with his wrist. He will not enter in with the 105, but he will be here, which he's allowed to do for rehab. Same sort of thing with Nolan Graham, who had a knee injury in spring practice. He's still recovering. He will be in camp for rehab only. And Jacob Weinmaster had a back he's not ready for fall camp, but he will be here for rehab. Every other player of the 105 that are reporting, the rest of them, 105 guys, are all healthy and are cleared to practice totally. So that includes obviously DeMornay and Spielman, the young guy that had the knee that's back. So every other guy is cleared to go.
And nobody's left the team in the summer at all? Has anybody left the program since? Okay.
No.
Has DeMornay throughout this summer been able to test his cutting and everything? Where do you feel just about what he can do? Can he be full speed right away, or is it going to take time?
Can DeMornay be full speed? Yes. When I say he's cleared, that means basically he's been through all those drills and tests, and the doctor is the one at the end that says he's cleared to go 100%. And so, now it's just a matter of practicing him correctly. That by being cleared and he hasn't really done much for a long, long time, so it's not like we may give him the workload of every other receiver on the team. We have not been given any limitations necessarily, except just watch the reps. and so we'll do that. But being able to look at him and incorporate him into all those thoughts I had a year ago today, about him, that would be exciting to do.
Coach, how many position battles for number one spots do you anticipate really having at camp? Are there 2 or 3 positions that you've got 2 or 3 guys that are going to compete for that starting job day one?
Well, we have a pretty good idea, obviously, with returners of how this is going to look. But I think we have to open it up like, a veteran guy like Corey Whitaker, right? For instance, we have a set group probably on the offensive line right now. But Corey's one of those guys that had a good spring, competed well, and is on the edge, of stepping in. The other thing we have to be careful about is I'll just throw a guy out like Jalen Barnett. Jalen was not in the mix of being a starter in spring practice, but this is a talented guy. So as he has another few months to work and how does he show up? He might show up in a way that we got to say, hey, this guy's in the mix to be a starter. So we'll be surprised like that with some people, and every position might be a little bit like that. The outside linebacker thing, a year ago when we were so worried about the depth at linebacker and it was valid, that group has developed now into, I think a pretty darn strong group and real good competition in there. So, because, I think Josh Banderas is a starting linebacker and Chris Webber is going to fight him for it, and that's on the inside. And then you've got Dedrick Young and Marcus Newby, Michael Rose-Ivy is all viable starters outside. Luke Gifford has had a great offseason physically. Could he enter into that picture? Absolutely. So I think you can't ever close the door on that. And so I think every position as I go forward, the running back thing is complicated. So how we practice them, how we give them opportunity to say who's going to rise, and what it all looks like in the end. Does somebody win that job convincingly where he's going to be a guy that plays more plays than the other guy, or do we get into a deal where we play them situationally or we play them evenly? We don't have to make that decision today, and I think it's fair to them to not make that decision today and let them practice and see where they are and what they do and how consistent they can be. I think the competition will raise the level of this team that way. The receiving deal is complicated too. I think this is a strong group, and guys that surfaced during the season last year that didn't have much production prior to that, all of a sudden are viable real guys, and there's more than 3 of them. So the starting competition is alive and well at that position too.
You've had some really good receiver corps over the course of your collegiate
Yeah.
coaching career. This group, I know including Stephen Carter in that group.
Yeah.
How good is this group in your long experience, and what is its full potential this year?
Well, I think for me that's a really good point, and we've had some good receiving corps in my life. We've had some good individual receivers. One year we had Marcus Wheaton and Brandon Cooks together, and that was a uniquely good group because of those two. This group in depth is as good as I've been around, and then you were right to include Seathan as a weapon in that deal. And I think all 3 of these backs are viable receivers. We had a back one year catch 78 passes. That was Quiz Rogers. And I think these guys, I don't know how it's all going to come down as to the turns they'll get, if they'll get enough turns in the game to be able to catch that many passes. But as a group, they could catch passes now. And so, our utilization of them will be real important, and they also become a viable part of our passing game. But I think this group, through the depth of guys right now that can play in the game, Sam, is a real good group. I think that's great for Tommy. I think that when you have versatility that way, that's a big factor in when you have to look at a group like that defensively, especially when you have an interior sometimes that will have Seathan Carter and Jordan Westerkamp as the inside receivers. Then then you're always talking defensively of where you're going to put the strength of the coverage. Are you going to roll over the top of the corners to help them because we have pretty good wide receivers? They're going to stay inside to help the linebackers and cover the slots and the tight ends. So I love having all those threats like that. And, and I think that with our style of game of what we're going to have to do, utilizing those people as much as we can really gives you balance as attacking the defense, and I think that the better we run the ball, the more effective we can be getting the ball to those guys. So that's going to have to be our game, and have to put it all together like that.
What is your plan with captains? And last year, you wanted some guys kind of that had that C on their chest.
Yeah.
Early summer. Why differently?
You know what? That's a good question. I've talked to the team about this a little bit. We didn't elect captains because I didn't want to limit that leadership this year in the summertime. For me, probably whether it's right or wrong last year or this year, I'm not sure. But after seeing this team for a year and then seeing them in the off season, I really didn't want to, like I said, limit whoever might step up and be that guy, because sometimes I think that when you designate those captains early, I think that's for us, that's what I've always done, frankly. But sometimes other guys kind of take a step back, and I just didn't want to do that. I just look. If you just started going through our team, position by position, and especially sometimes primarily look at older guys. That doesn't necessarily mean that just older guys can be a captain, but when you just look at the older guys in the team, it's kind of nice to give them a sense of responsibility over an extended period of time. Now, the next step of that is, what do I do now? And I think I'm going to look at it. I'm also going to get their opinion. I'm going to probably mostly from a senior meeting here in the next week or so.
Coach, I know the running backs battle was kind of a point of emphasis in spring between Newby, Zigbo, Wilbon, how kind of evenly matched they were, and of course, replacing Janovich at the fullback spot. I guess now heading into fall with maybe some new guys on campus, have any new contenders come up in either one of those positions? How do you see the fullback running back battle kind of going on as fall camp starts?
Well, I think that we have a good number of players there, right? When you look at our tailback with Terrell Newby and Divina Zigbu, and then you all saw Mikel Wilbon make a step up in spring ball. Those are all viable guys. Those are the three guys I've been talking about. And then we've got a freshman, Trey Bryant, that has been impressive throughout the time that he's been here since June, the testing, the work that he's done, and possibly his ability with his size. He's a pretty stout guy. With his size, might make an impact on special teams. So if he does that, if he is a returner, if he could run down on the kickoff team, if he could play a part in some fashion as an end or a tackle on the punt team, all of a sudden you got to start looking at Trey and then pushing him into that tailback and see if he can win a spot into that deal. So, that's pretty good competition throughout that group. And they all bring a little something different, but they're all pretty versatile in the same regard. And then the fullback, we were so fortunate to get Andy for at least 1 year. We have always liked that position. We love being able to substitute the fullback into the game. I like the use of different personnel groups within a game. Of how we attack a defense, and so fullback through the years has been an important part of our offense. And to come here and find a guy like Andy, we were really fortunate to do that. So now going forward, we're looking at again, that position takes a guy that obviously can be a thumper as a blocker in there. Can run the ball a little bit, give him the ball in a zone play inside. He maybe on a trap. Andy hit a couple of those big last year. We even used Andy a little bit in the zone read game. I think he had a couple of carries for 20-plus yards in the bowl game. And so then you look at your team and who is that guy? It's hard to replace Andy, but a guy like, Harrison Jordan has been here working hard. He'll get an opportunity. Luke McNitt, who had been a H-back type guy, and a lot of times you like it when they have that ability to be able to kind of morph from the H-back to the fullback. You can use them in motion. They can motion in the backfield, be that lead guy as a fullback. They can motion to the edge and be that H-back that you like there. Luke played that position and then has worked hard at learning the fullback stuff, and that's where he showed very well in the spring. And he is a responsible, good football player. Good size, all the stuff. He can catch the ball, and he can run it a little bit. And then the other guy that I personally think that we've got to continue to search to get more in the games is Graham Nabity. And Graham would not be what you would say a likely candidate for that because he didn't look like that prototype guy. But, I've been in it long enough to be able to look back in my past. And one time when we were at SC, our tailback was bigger than our fullback. And actually the fullback, and the guy's name was Terry Barnum, and he had been a tailback, but he wasn't going to start. So we asked him about playing fullback, and he did. He was about 210 pounds, and most of that thumper blocking he did was kind of in the thigh pad area. But he was good, and he must have caught 50 balls that year too. We used him a lot in the flat. So, you got to look at the personnel, and Graham, to me, fits that. He's going to be bigger than that. He's going to be able to run the zone play inside. I think he could be a smart blocker, and he could be an excellent receiver coming out of the backfield. So, we got some good candidates there.
Hey, Mike, you've talked a lot about emphasizing the run game. Do you switch up practice? Do you make any practice alterations to help that? Is there anything you do differently?
Well, we can. What I've done every year, Steve, is really examined practice. So we've tweaked it anyway. So I don't know if we tweaked it just for that reason. We certainly want to find our areas. I think we have made an emphasis as we've planned practice for this fall camp. We have made an emphasis to really make sure that we had those good periods that will be really important to our identity that involve running the ball, just a middle drill, run drill, whatever you want to call it. But also those 1st and 10 periods that are primarily run but have play action pass built in. So if you had 16 plays, you might have 12 runs, 4 play action passes, all those play action passes based off the runs that you just ran. So we have talked a lot about that because that's Tommy is an excellent play action bootleg guy. He throws as well on the run as anybody I've ever been around. I love it. He can throw those comebacks on the run and do some good stuff. So, that's really, it's not a definitive answer to your question, but we and the other thing is teams that I've been with have run the ball well. We had great runners. I think I told you I had a little figure on my board for years and years. I think it said 16,408. And that was the total yardage of our last 4 running backs that we had at the last place. 4,000 yards of average career. That's pretty good. And so we want to do that. And we get the identity of, how that looked against UCLA. And maybe a really good recipe as the approach. And we want to basically know what that means physically, how you can win a game. I love that. And then we want to complement that with a play action game that we do. And then there's going to be times where you're going to drop back and throw the ball, and we want to have the right stuff. So the selection of that, whether it's 3rd down passing where you're going to have to drop back and hit a guy for a 1st down, or it's 3rd and goal from the 4 and you're going to throw it in. You got to have the right stuff, the right calls, make the right throws, make a play down there. So we really want versatility, but, we certainly don't want to be that team that's thrown 45 times a game.
I know a year ago you were pretty selective about Tommy and his running. Do you anticipate loosening that a little bit more and calling more just straight runs and kind of adding that element in as you saw in the bowl game?
I think that I think we learned more about that as we went, and I think a lot of this stuff for Tommy will be option type plays, not necessarily the old option where it's give it to the dive man or pitch it, a little bit like that, but it could be run pass option and a little versatility that way. But that's one of the big things I talked about entering into the second year, and probably highlighted in that statement is the thought about the quarterback and how best to use him. So I don't know that we'll run more with him, but we will be thoughtful about it, and he certainly is a weapon that way, and so it's a great complement to what we can do offensively.
Mike, can you just talk about Fan Day tonight?
Yeah.
That's about
Oh,
2 hours of signing autographs.
yeah, this is a special night. I learned it was new to me for a year ago, and it's another one of those great signs of how much people care. I think it's really good for our team too. For some of the new guys to get to understand how much people care and how important they are to the fans here. That is, I think, impacting for these young guys. But the thing in Nebraska is we're all in this together, and so to be able to share an evening just like this with the fans, I think, is great for our team. All right, thanks, guys. Good to see you.